Hello, my name is Glenn. Welcome back to the Cryptonest. Today I want to talk to you guys about a few different things, one of them being traditional finances being set for a decade of miserable yields. I want to talk to you about the possibility of Bitcoin hitting $250,000 in 2020 and Bitcoin bouncing back over $800 in just one day. If that sounds interesting to you, I think you should stick around. First, I want to get kind of real with you guys for a minute. I've been doing a lot of things here lately. I'm sorry I haven't been as active with the channel. I'm working on a lot of things. I'm trying to get things branded. You'll be seeing some new branding coming up here real soon, some new logos and things like that. Working on growing the channel for you. That's something I've been really invested in. I want to say hello and welcome to some of the new members, some of the new subscribers we have on the channel today. I've been doing some work here recently, driving some Uber and meeting some really cool people. And to any of you that have joined through that experience of meeting me in the car, I want to say thank you very much for being here and welcome to the channel. This is what we were talking about, and this is what I'm looking to do every day. A lot of people have asked me here lately, why Bitcoin and what do I see? And I've had a couple people actually say, well, you never know where it's going to be, and you don't know how much it's going to cost, and you don't know how much it's going to go, if it's going to go up or if it's going to go down. And this is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. However, I have total faith in Bitcoin and in cryptocurrencies. As I've said a couple of times now, and I've had this conversation with a few people, if you think about the natural evolution of money, starting from gold, we'll say, going to dollars. And the first time someone got a dollar, they thought that was unusual because that's not the gold they were used to. And then we went to checks, and then people were like, well, what's this check? I'm used to cash. And we went from cash and checks, we moved on to credit cards and debit cards. And now when we receive our paycheck, we never even see a check. It goes digitally into our bank account. From there, we use our debit card to digitally pay for and buy just about everything we need to buy and pay for. It's not that hard, not that far of a reach of the imagination to understand that our money is going to be all digital very soon, which is what got me into this whole cryptocurrency crazy thing, this crazy internet money, as they say. But when you see headlines like traditional finance set for a decade of miserable yields, and this is an article that was posted just December 10th, so this was just a few days old here. That doesn't lend a whole lot of credibility to the traditional markets and where that might be going in the near future. When you see things like Tim Draper, who is a major angel investor and one of the very early adopters and investors in cryptocurrency, coming out talking about he believes that Bitcoin can hit $250,000 in 2020 as the dominance is rising. That's a pretty high number. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon and say that $250,000, yeah, go Bitcoin. But if someone like Tim Draper is saying it, that's something to definitely pay attention to. As it's passed 7,200 a second time on December 19th, which was today, a previous bearish move gave way to a return to higher levels. As we can see, yesterday Bitcoin jumped up over $800, got back over 7,000. Markets have their cycles. They go up, they go down. In fact, I have a clip here that I want to show you. I want to give a shout out to a gentleman by the name of Benjamin Cohen. Benjamin Cohen has a YouTube channel. Everybody should check him out. Very helpful information, very useful. And he lays this out pretty well in a graph and a chart here that shows that if you had gotten involved just about any time in Bitcoin prior to now, other than at the very, very high, you'd still be up. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play that video for you. Please check out his channel. I hope you enjoy that. And then I'll be back with you once we've watched that.
But there's a lot of interesting things to take from this graph, and we're going to just, we're going to jump right in and try to make sense of where Bitcoin might be headed in the next few years. And the way we're going to do that is just look at some of the trends that have already popped up in this market. So the first thing I have here, the purple on the top is the peak price during that cycle. And some of you will note that Bitcoin got a bit higher than this, and it's right. That's correct. But what I do is I just mainly look at the candles. I don't look at like wicks that go up. at all. But so, if you just follow along in terms of, these are the Bitcoin prices at the peak in the bull run, and then these are the bottoms in the bear market. So as many of you guys know, Bitcoin bottomed, at around 3,100 or so, not 3,225, but that was just a wick. It wasn't like, the part of the candle. So let's look to see how these, like what the trends are showing us. So back in 2011, the price peaked at $31.9, and then it then crashed down to 229. But during the next bull market, it went up 3,508% to 1151. Now this 3508 is actually measured from peak to peak. So even if you bought at this peak and you sold at this peak, you were still up over 3,500%, which is incredible. If you bought in the bear market at 229 and sold during this bear market, you were up 7,600%. It's amazing, because basically what that says is that, yeah, if you bought in the bear market here and sold in the bear market here, you would have actually done a lot better than if you had bought in the peak here and sold at the next peak. Now imagine if you had bought in the bear market here and then sold at the peak. That would have been truly incredible. But anyways, you can see that this is a 3,500% increase from peak to peak, and then from this point down here to this point, it's 7,600% increase. Now, you can also note that from here to here, we went from 1151 up to 19,499, which was a 1,594% increase from peak to peak, which is still incredible to think that you're going up almost 1,600% on even buying at the peak over here. Now you would have had to wait like 4 years to see that 1,594% return, but still that's an incredible return. And if you bought in the bear market over here, you would have bought at 177 at the bottom, and then you could have sold up here for 32.25 at the bottom, approximate, at a 2,656% increase. Now, where does this leave us? So how can we use this to try to determine where we're going? So one of the things you can note is that these peaks on this logarithmic regression are getting lower on, basically, each one is getting lower down on these lines. So you can see this first one here goes all the way up to this top line, and then the next peak, it drops down about three lines here, which is pretty significant, but it's still a huge increase. And then if you go from this peak to this peak, we're dropping down about 2 lines. Now, you can also measure, instead of just saying lines, because these lines are somewhat arbitrary, right? Because they're fit, they were optimized in the package that I was using. But the numerical value is just this. You can see that this was the percent increase from here to here, and then the percent increase from here to here was about half as much, so it wasn't nearly as high. So if we actually look at these ratios here, so the ratio between this and this is 0.454, so 1494 divided by 3508. If we continue that same ratio, so if we basically have again in terms of the percent increase from peak to peak, then that means if you had bought here and you sell at the peak of the next bull cycle, and if we have a 724% increase, which would be continuing this trend, then that would put the next peak potentially at 141,173. Now, another thing that's interesting is that I've drawn it on the blue line mainly because I think there's a good chance that that's where we're headed. So, this one dropped down 3 lines, this one dropped down 2, and it's basically just a way for you to visualize, these changes in the percentages. And now, if this one drops down 1, so if it just drops down to this blue line, but we extend this blue line out to the halving, so we would expect to potentially go parabolic after the halving. We'll be down here, that we won't be up here, most likely. And if we make it up to this line, let's say it's the same as the last 2 times. So, this one was the end of or around 2013. This peak was the end of 2013. This peak was the end of 2017. So if the next peak occurs at the end of 2021 and it lands on that blue line, it'll be approximately 141,000. But this 141,000 is taken from just this ratio here. This going up 724% from this the peak of this bull run to potentially the peak of this next bull run. So it's not entirely set in stone there, obviously. If you just go to the plot and look at the data at the very end of 2021, I think it has the price at around 160,000, not 141,000. So it could potentially be around 150,000 potentially, but I anticipate a lot of people are going to start taking profits if it gets into six figures. So if we hit 100,000, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of profit taking at that point. Doesn't mean it can't go higher, but this, if we continue the same trend, would put us at 141. Now, if we do manage to do this, if we do manage to go up, over the course of the next couple years, we're not going to go up in a straight line. And in fact, if you go all the way back, we more or less are on the yellow line down here when the halving occurs. So when the halving occurred in 2012, you can see we were on the yellow line. In 2016, when the halving occurred, we were basically on the yellow line. In 2020, we're already on the yellow line now. So, we could just continue to ride up this yellow line, maybe get to around 12 or 13,000 by the halving, potentially. I don't know. Plus or minus, a few K, I imagine, but what's a few thousand among friends? If we continue to ride this line up, we might still be on this yellow line, and then we might even drop down. But ultimately, I think we will likely see some type of parabolic run-up. And if we do reach this 141,000 or thereabouts, you have to remember that it's not going to be sustained and that we will drop down. And the way I've calculated this number is the same way I calculated this one. So it's just taking the difference between these ratios, which is 0.348 from here to here. So if we do another 0.348 from here to here, that puts us at 924% from the depths of this bear market to potentially the depths of the next one. And that would put us at around 30 grand, which, I think would be somewhat realistic because, the peak over here was 1151, which was still lower than the bottom of two bear markets later. So not the first bear market, but the next bear market. So that means that this, if this is the ultimate, capitulation area, it would still be, higher than the peak of the previous two bull runs before, basically. So 19,499 up to around 30 grand from here to here. So I hope this sort of makes sense. This is kind of what I talk about. I know not everyone has this experience with looking at Bitcoin and the halvings and all that sort of stuff, but there is some, I would say there is some methods of madness here. It's not just we go up and we go down.
Okay, so now all of you may understand a little bit better why I do not worry about Bitcoin. Going forward in the future, every time it goes up, it comes back down. It comes back down to a higher low than it had previously. Obviously, you can see the kind of percentages we're talking about, that Benjamin's talking about in that video, are insane gains that you will never see in the traditional stock market. This is why I am involved in cryptocurrency. This is why I'm out there trying to help educate others in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and why I want to, why this is going to be what I do going forward. So I hope everybody's enjoyed this. I hope you got a lot of information out of that. Thank you very much, Benjamin, for the information that he shared in his video. Again, check out his channel. Great information on there. Thank you all for being here today. I do appreciate it. I got to get running. I'm going to keep this one kind of short. I have to keep moving on and building the things that I need to build so this channel can continue to grow. So thank you all for your time. Have yourself a great day. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope it's a wonderful day for you. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.